The pollies have left, but the people are still here. Over the weekend, angry citizens turned out in force, with an estimated 25,000 taking to the Glasgow streets. But the next day, when the weather turned and the rain started belting down, that number was very different. Around 100,000.
I feel like the action must come from the people because the governments don't want to change anything.
We, as individuals, can only do so much. We need the big, huge companies to actually do something.
Australia's role in the COP talks hasn't gone unnoticed.
I'm not sure that your leader is the most on board with all of this.
You're still digging up the coal. The economy's dependent on fossil fuels, isn't it?
There was a wide range of ages on display.
We're here for our grandchildren and their children.
We're all here from our school's eco committee.
If I can be bothered to clean my room, then why can't they be bothered to clean the planet?
Even the very, very young wanted to make their voices heard.
What's your name?
Martha.
And how old are you?
5.
5. And can you talk me through your sign?
Save the trees.
And Martha had one big hope for the march.
Greta Thunberg.
You want to see Greta?
Huh?
What would you ask Greta if you met her?
Hi.
The crowd wasn't just made up of locals. It was filled with people who had trekked across the country and the world to have their voices heard.
We are coming from Denmark. I'm from Poland.
If they don't go back to Malaysia and actually put these things that they've set up here into action, then there's no point. It's about what happens in our own countries after these COPs.
I would ask Greta hi too. Scott Dooley joins us now from Glasgow. Dools, we just saw Glasgow's just weathered its largest protest in over a decade. What did you see at the Climate Justice March?
People, more than anything. It was really, really overwhelming how many people were there. There were 100,000 on Saturday, 25,000 on Friday, and a really broad spectrum of folks were there, like from, people that were in people in prams, young families with their kids, going for a walk, right up to grandparents who had, filled the thermos tartan up and decided to get out for some climate change.
Scott, they clearly noticed there in Glasgow what Australia was or wasn't doing. But how uncomfortable did that make it, being an Aussie there on the streets in Glasgow? Were they giving us a hard time?
Yeah, it's not a great response to the Aussies at the moment. And I say this as a very proud Australian, but if foreigners know the name of our Prime Minister, it's generally not because they're killing it. And a lot of people know the name of our Prime Minister.
Jules, I did a bunch of gigs for drought relief in Queensland, and it was flooded the whole time when we did the gigs, and I couldn't help but think, as you're out there for a protest against global warming, that it looked to rain the whole day and be miserable.
It did, and I'm glad you mentioned you're doing some work for charity, Tommy. That's good. It's good to mention those things on TV.
I would like to point out, Jules, that I think that you underestimated the weather and you should have brought warmer jackets, because every time we cross to you, you're shivering. But I did want to ask, we're halfway through COP, the summit at the moment. Many of the leaders have left now. What's the plan for the rest of it? How's it going to unfold now?
Yeah, so the first week, the progress wasn't that great, to be honest. So this week's really about negotiation and pointed negotiation. So there's a lot of ministers getting together to really lay out. The big thing that people are interested in is the carbon markets and what that looks like post-2025. So while that's going to go on, all the normal events are happening. Obama's here today. He's going to be giving a speech. And so it's going to be a pretty busy week.
Is everyone talking about Biden's fart there as well?
Yeah. The pull my finger protocol is really getting a lot of talk around Glasgow, and they're trying to get a sample to make sure it was actually his.
Then you'll be really happy.
I was going to say, there's one person that's on it.
Fart that was heard around the world.
Thanks, Jules, for that. The long delay made that for quite an awkward chat, so I appreciate your time.
But I think we successfully brought him down to our level.
Yes, we did, yes.
Well done.
It's going to be the most fascinating federal election heading into now. I mean, almost every election we've had in the last, 20, 25 years have come down to 4 seats in Queensland, maybe a couple in New South Wales. There's been changes in Victoria that means, there's really no argument to be had there. Is the Labor Party actually going to step up and going to, when it finally reveals its full suite of policies, actually make this an argument and a debate and a proper election about who can find a path forward, who can invest in the jobs for our kids for the future, the industries that they'll work in, the institutions they'll train at in order to go on and have careers for years in new industries. I mean, it's not spin. The possibilities here are huge. And if you follow the private money, the money is speaking. That's where it's going, into those investments. And whether we actually have two sides shaping up, or indeed the Greens or independents, to make that argument is, to me, the really fascinating thing.
And how will those arguments be heard in those 4 seats in Queensland?
Yeah.